The transport ship cut through the darkness of space like a silver needle threading through black fabric. Inside, Ambassador Keela Voss of the Tanith Directorate sat alone in her private cabin, staring at the small data chip in her palm. Her blue-scaled hand trembled slightly as she closed her fingers around it. The chip contained something dangerous. Something that could destroy the peace of the entire galaxy. Through the viewport, she could see Axios Prime growing larger. The neutral world hung in space like a pearl, surrounded by the massive ring structure of the Galaxy Council Station. Thousands of ships, from hundreds of worlds, orbited the station. This was the heart of galactic civilization, the place where all the great species met to decide the future. Keela had been coming to this station for 20 years. She had always believed in the Council. She had always trusted that the elder races made decisions with wisdom and fairness. Now she knew better. 3 years ago, something happened that the galaxy was never supposed to know about. The Council held a secret meeting. No recordings were made public. No minutes were published. Officially, the meeting never existed, but Keela had proof that it did. She thought back to how she had obtained the chip. A Vreth data analyst named Sorak had contacted her through encrypted channels. He had been working in the Council's archive systems when he found something strange. Files that had been sealed with the highest level of security. Files that had been deliberately hidden and erased from all official records. Sorak had been curious. Curiosity was dangerous in the Vreth hegemony. But he couldn't help himself. He spent months breaking through the encryption layers. What he found horrified him. The secret session had been called because of Earth. Humanity had joined the Galaxy Council only 15 years before. They were the newest species to achieve faster-than-light travel and make contact with galactic civilization. At first, the elder races had welcomed them with the usual mixture of curiosity and condescension. Humans were young, primitive, and would take their place at the bottom of the galactic hierarchy like all new species did. But something unexpected happened. Humans didn't stay at the bottom. They learned fast, too fast. Their technology advanced at a rate that made the elder races uncomfortable. Human traders quickly became successful. Human colonies spread across dozens of systems. Human scientists made breakthroughs that species with thousands of years of history couldn't match. Within 10 years, Earth's economy was in the top 30 of all galactic civilizations. Their military, while small, used tactics and technologies that made elder race admirals nervous. Human culture spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Their music, their stories, their ideas infected other species. The elder races began to worry. They had ruled the galaxy for millennia. The Vreth hegemony, the Calrix Consortium, the ancient Pelithans, and dozens of others had an understanding. They maintained the order. They controlled the resources. They decided who rose and who fell. Humanity was rising without permission, so the elder races called a secret meeting. 47 species attended. No humans were invited. No younger races were allowed to observe. The session was held in a secure location, shielded from all surveillance. The topic was simple: what to do about Earth. The debate had been short. Some species argued for patience. Others argued for action. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Economic Quarantine Protocol 7 was approved. It sounded bureaucratic and harmless. In reality, it was a death sentence. The protocol created a secret coalition to strangle Earth's growth. Trade restrictions were implemented through back channels. Technology transfers were blocked. Resource-rich systems that human scouts discovered were claimed by elder race corporations minutes before human companies could file their own claims. Research grants that should have gone to human scientists were redirected. 3 human colony ships had been destroyed in accidents over the past 3 years. After reading the erased minutes, Sorak realized the accidents weren't accidents at all. The protocol was working. Earth's expansion had slowed dramatically. Human trade networks were collapsing. The Earth government was spending all its resources trying to understand why everything they attempted suddenly failed. They never suspected that the entire galaxy was conspiring against them. Sorak had copied fragments of the erased minutes and sent them to Keela. He chose her because she had a reputation for honesty. Also because her species, the Tanith, were not part of the conspiracy. The Tanith were a middle-tier species, not powerful enough to be included in the Elder Race's secret clubs. 2 days after sending the data, Sorak disappeared. Now she was approaching the council station with evidence of a conspiracy that involved nearly 50 species. She had already made her decision about what to do with it. She was going to give it to the humans. The transport docked with the station. Keela passed through security checkpoints, her credentials allowing her access to the diplomatic levels. She walked through corridors lined with representatives from species across the galaxy. Some were humanoid. Others were completely alien. All of them believed they lived in a fair and just galactic order. Keela reached the Earth Embassy section. It was smaller than most, reflecting humanity's junior status. She sent a secure message to Ambassador Marcus Chen, requesting a private meeting. The response came quickly. Chen agreed to meet her in 1 hour at a location off the station. Keela took a shuttle to a nearby civilian habitat. A rotating wheel where traders and tourists from all species mingled. She found Chen waiting in a private room he had rented. The human was tall and thin, with dark hair turning gray at the temples. His eyes were intelligent and cautious. "Ambassador Voss," he said, offering his hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Your message said this was urgent." Keela placed the data chip on the table between them. "Ambassador Chen, I have information that your government needs to see. Before I give this to you, I need you to understand something. Once you know what's on this chip, everything will change. You can't unknow it. You can't ignore it." Chen picked up the chip and examined it. "What is it?" "Proof," Keela said quietly, "that the Galaxy Council has been trying to destroy humanity for the past 3 years." The human's expression didn't change, but Keela saw his jaw tighten. "Tell me everything," he said. Keela began to speak. She told him about the secret session, about Protocol 7, about the conspiracy of 47 species. She watched as Chen's face grew darker with each revelation. When she finished, Chen was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "How much of this can you prove?" "The chip contains partial records," Keela said. "Fragments that my source managed to extract. It's not complete, but it's enough to show what happened. The full records are still locked in the Council's quantum vault." Chen stood and walked to the viewport, staring out at the stars. "They've been sabotaging us," he said softly. "All this time, we thought we were failing. We thought we were making mistakes. But it was them." "Yes," Keela said. Chen turned back to her. "Why are you giving this to us? Your species isn't involved, but you're risking a lot by helping us." Keela met his eyes. "Because what they did was wrong. Because I still believe the galaxy should be better than this. And because if they can do this to you, they can do it to anyone." Chen nodded slowly. He picked up the chip. As Keela left the room, she felt the weight lift from her shoulders. She had made her choice. Now, humanity would make theirs. The galaxy was about to change forever. Marcus Chen arrived on Earth 12 hours after his meeting with Ambassador Voss. He didn't sleep during the journey. Instead, he studied the data chip, reading the fragments of the erased minutes over and over until he had memorized every word. The words made him angry. Not the hot, explosive anger that burned out quickly. The cold, calculating anger that planned and waited. His shuttle landed at Geneva Spaceport just before dawn. A secure vehicle was waiting to take him directly to the United Earth Government complex. By the time the sun rose over the Alps, Chen was sitting in a sealed conference room with Earth's top leadership. President Sarah Okonkwo sat at the head of the table. Around her were the directors of Earth's intelligence services, military leaders, and the Secretary of Galactic Affairs. Chen had sent them a summary before arriving, so they knew why they were there. "Show us everything," Okonkwo said. Chen activated the holographic display. The fragments of the erased minutes appeared in the air above the table. Everyone read in silence. The room grew very quiet. 47 species, the director of intelligence finally said. 47 species conspired to destroy us. Not destroy, Chen corrected. Contain. They wanted to stop our growth, to keep us weak and dependent. They wanted us to know our place. And these accidents? Asked Admiral Wei, commander of Earth's defense forces. The colony ships? Not accidents, Chen said. According to these fragments, they were deliberate attacks made to look like technical failures. Okonkwo leaned back in her chair. Her face showed no emotion, but Chen had known her for years. He could see the fury behind her calm expression. How reliable is this source? She asked. Ambassador Voss has no reason to lie, Chen said. Her species isn't part of the conspiracy. She's risking her career, possibly her life, by giving this to us. But these are just fragments, the Secretary of Galactic Affairs pointed out. If we accuse the Council with incomplete evidence, they'll deny everything. They'll say we fabricated it. We'll look paranoid and aggressive. Exactly, Chen agreed. Which is why we need the complete records. Admiral Wei understood immediately. You want to break into the Council's vault? Yes, Chen said simply. The room erupted in objections. It was impossible. The Council's security was the most advanced in the galaxy. The vault used quantum encryption that couldn't be broken. Even if they somehow succeeded, the political consequences would be catastrophic. Chen waited for the noise to die down. Every objection you've raised is valid, he said. But consider the alternative. We do nothing. We accept being slowly strangled. We watch our species decline into irrelevance while pretending we don't know why. Is that better? Okonkwo raised her hand for silence. Marcus is right. We need proof. Complete, undeniable proof. Admiral Wei, what would you need to pull this off? Wei thought for a moment. I'd need our best people. Hackers, intelligence operatives, combat specialists. And we'd need something the Council doesn't expect. What's that? Okonkwo asked. Wei smiled grimly. Human creativity. The elder races have been using the same security protocols for centuries. They're arrogant. They think their systems are unbreakable because no one has broken them before. But they've never faced humans who are properly motivated. There's something else we'd need, Chen added. Shepard. Everyone in the room knew that name. Shepard was an artificial intelligence that Earth's cyber warfare division had developed in secret. Officially, advanced AI was restricted by galactic law. Unofficially, Earth had decided that following rules written by species trying to sabotage them was optional. Shepard is still experimental, the intelligence director warned. We don't know if it can handle something this complex. Then we'll find out, Okonkwo decided. Admiral Wei, put together your team. You have 1 week to plan. Make it work. The meeting ended. Over the next 7 days, Wei assembled a group that would have impressed even the most paranoid conspiracy theorist. There was Captain Sarah Okonkwo, the president's daughter, and one of Earth's top special operations officers. There was Dr. 5. And James Liu, a hacker who had once broken into a Calrix banking system just to prove he could. There was Corporal Maria Santos, a combat veteran who had survived 3 tours in the border conflicts. And there was Shepard, the AI that humans weren't supposed to have. The team studied the Council Station's schematics. They analyzed security protocols. They identified vulnerabilities. The elder races had made a critical mistake. Their security systems were designed by species that thought in straight lines, that followed logical patterns, that did things the way they had always been done. Humans thought differently. The plan they developed was insane. It relied on misdirection, timing, and the willingness to take risks that no elder race would consider acceptable. In other words, it was perfectly human. 2 weeks after Chen's meeting with Ambassador Voss, the team arrived at Axios Prime on a regular diplomatic transport. They carried forged credentials, identifying them as technical consultants for Earth's embassy. The Council's security barely glanced at them. Getting onto the station was easy. The hard part came next. The quantum vault was located in the most secure section of the station, protected by multiple layers of physical and digital security. Guards from a dozen species patrolled the corridors. Sensors monitored every molecule of air. Access required biometric verification from 3 separate council members. The team didn't try to fight through the security. Instead, they created a distraction. Dr. Liu uploaded a virus into the station's environmental systems. Not a dangerous one, just annoying. Temperature fluctuations, lighting glitches, strange smells in the ventilation. Nothing that seemed like an attack, just technical problems that needed attention. Maintenance crews rushed to fix the issues. Security forces investigated. Everyone was looking in the wrong direction. While the station's attention was focused on environmental failures, Captain Okonkwo and Corporal Santos used maintenance tunnels to reach the vault level. They wore stolen uniforms and carried forged work orders. The elder races were so confident in their main security systems that they barely monitored the maintenance access points. The vault itself was a different challenge. The quantum encryption was genuinely sophisticated. It would take centuries to crack, using conventional methods. Fortunately, Shepard wasn't conventional. The AI had been studying galactic technology ever since Earth made first contact. It had analyzed millions of systems, looking for patterns and weaknesses. The quantum encryption used by the Council was ancient, designed thousands of years ago by the Pelithans. It was unbreakable by any technology that existed when it was created. But Shepard approached the problem differently. Instead of trying to break the encryption, it looked for side channels, tiny fluctuations in power consumption, microscopic variations in quantum states, information that leaked out in ways the original designers never imagined. It took Shepard 6 hours of continuous processing. The AI burned through computational resources at a rate that would have alarmed its creators. But eventually, it found the pattern. The vault opened. Inside were data crystals containing the Council's most secret records. Captain Okonkwo grabbed the crystal, labeled with the date of the secret session. She also grabbed several others, figuring that if they were going to commit galactic treason, they might as well be thorough. The team extracted from the station the same way they entered. Carefully, quietly. By the time the Council realized the vault had been breached, the humans were already 3 jumps away. Back on Earth, Chen watched as Shepard decrypted the complete records of the secret session. Every word, every vote, every argument made by the 47 species that had conspired to destroy humanity's future. "We have them," Chen said quietly. President Okonkwo stood beside him, reading the records. "What do we do now?" Chen's smile was cold. "We call a council meeting, and we show the galaxy exactly what their leaders did in the dark." The Galaxy Council's main chamber was designed to impress. The circular room stretched 300 meters across, with seating for representatives from over 200 species. The ceiling was a transparent dome that showed the stars beyond. In the center, a holographic display could project information visible from every seat. Today, every seat was filled. Ambassador Marcus Chen stood at the human delegation's podium, which was positioned in the outer ring where junior species were placed. The elder races sat closer to the center, in positions that reflected their power and status. The Vreth hegemony held the primary seat, flanked by the Calrix Consortium and the Pelithan Conclave. Chen had requested this emergency session using humanity's right as a council member. The elder races had granted it, probably expecting another complaint about trade difficulties. Humans had been complaining a lot lately. The elder races found it tiresome but harmless. They had no idea what was about to happen. "Honorable representatives," Chen began, his voice calm and professional. "I thank you for gathering on short notice. Earth has a matter of grave importance to bring before this council." The Vreth ambassador, a tall being with silver skin and 3 eyes, made a dismissive gesture. "Ambassador Chen, we are aware that Earth has faced economic challenges recently. However, these are normal difficulties that all developing species experience. The Council cannot intervene in every— I'm not here to ask for intervention," Chen interrupted. "I'm here to present evidence of a crime." That got their attention. The chamber quieted. 200 species watched the human delegation with sudden interest. Chen activated his podium controls. The central holographic display lit up. 3 years ago, Chen said, a secret session of this council was held. No public record was made. The existence of this session was classified at the highest levels. Officially, it never happened. The Vreth ambassador's skin darkened, a sign of anger in his species. "Ambassador Chen, if you are referring to routine security briefings, I'm referring to this," Chen said, and pressed another control. The erased minutes appeared in the holographic display. Not fragments, not partial data. The complete, unencrypted records of the entire session. The chamber exploded into chaos. Representatives from dozens of species started talking at once. The conspirator species looked shocked and furious. The species that hadn't been included in the secret session looked betrayed and angry. Chen let the noise continue for a moment. Then he raised his voice. The minutes speak for themselves. 47 species, led by the Vreth hegemony, voted to implement Economic Quarantine Protocol 7. The stated purpose was to prevent Earth's continued growth and expansion. He changed the display to show specific quotes from the session. "Humanity represents a threat to the established order." Those are the words of the Calrix representative. They must be contained before they grow too powerful. That's from the Pelothon Conclave. The Calrix ambassador stood, her crystalline body refracting light in sharp angles. "This is a fabrication. A human lie designed to undermine the council. Is it?" Chen asked. He looked directly at her. "Then, explain how I have records that include your biometric signature. Explain the timestamps that match known gaps in the council's public schedule. Explain the encryption keys that only council security possesses." He pulled up more data, flooding the display with technical evidence. Sheaford had done thorough work. Every piece of information was verified, cross-referenced, and undeniable. "For 3 years, Chen continued, Earth has struggled. Our trade networks collapsed. Our technology transfers were blocked. Our colony ships suffered mysterious accidents. We thought we were failing. We thought we were making mistakes." His voice grew harder. "But it wasn't failure. It was sabotage. Coordinated, deliberate sabotage by 47 species that decided humanity's crime was being too successful, too quickly." The Vreth ambassador tried to take control. "Even if these records are authentic, the Council acted within its authority. Protocol 7 was implemented as a preventative measure. Earth's rapid militarization and expansion posed a potential threat to galactic stability." "Potential threat?" Chen's laugh was bitter. "We had 15 years of peaceful contact. We followed every law. We respected every treaty. Our crime was learning too fast and competing too well." He changed the display again, showing Earth's actual military capabilities compared to the elder races. The numbers were stark. Even with 3 years of growth, Earth's military was a fraction of the size of the Vreth hegemony alone. "You weren't afraid of our military," Chen said quietly. "You were afraid of our economy. You were afraid that in another generation, humans would be your equals. And rather than compete fairly, rather than adapt, you cheated. You conspired in darkness because you knew the galaxy would never support your cowardice in the light." The Vreth ambassador's 3 eyes narrowed. Watch your tone. Human. You are addressing civilizations that ruled the galaxy before your species learned to use fire. And that's exactly the problem, Chen shot back. You've ruled so long that you forgot how to earn it. You think power is a birthright, rather than something that must be maintained through merit. A new voice spoke up. Ambassador Krell, of the Tython Union, a mid-tier species, stood at his podium. I was not invited to this secret session. My species was not consulted. I want to know what else the elder races have decided without the rest of us. Other voices joined in. Species after species, all those who had been excluded from the conspiracy, began demanding answers. The elder races had fractured the council themselves by keeping secrets. Chen pressed his advantage. The records show that Protocol 7 included provisions for sabotaging colony ships. 3 human ships were destroyed, killing over 5,000 people. That's not trade policy. That's murder. The chamber went silent. Murder was something even the elder races couldn't dismiss lightly. The Pelethan representative, elder statesman Pelkoth, finally spoke. His voice was ancient and tired. What does Earth want? Chen had been waiting for that question. Justice, transparency, and assurance that this will never happen again. Specifically, Pelkoth pressed, reparations for the families of those killed, public admission of what was done, and reform of the Council to prevent secret sessions that affect member species without their knowledge or consent. The Vreth ambassador laughed harshly. Impossible. You overreach, human. You may have exposed this session, but you are still one species against 47. You have no power to demand anything. Chen smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. You're right. I don't have that power. But they do. He pressed one more control. The display changed to show live feeds from news networks across the galaxy. On hundreds of worlds, billions of beings were reading the erased minutes. Shepard had distributed the complete records to every news organization, every independent government, every corner of the Galactic Information Network. The conspiracy wasn't secret anymore. The entire galaxy knew. I distributed the records 10 minutes before this session began, Chen said calmly. By now, trillions of beings know what you did. Your own populations know. The species you left out of your conspiracy know. Everyone knows. The conspirator species looked at their communication devices, reading urgent messages from their home governments. Chen watched their expressions change from anger to fear. You can try to deny it, Chen continued. You can try to spin it as legitimate policy. But you'll do it in the light, not in darkness. And every species you've ever condescended to, every government you've ever dismissed, every people you've ever considered inferior, they're all watching now. Ambassador Krell stood again. The Tython Union calls for an immediate vote of censure against all species involved in this conspiracy. The Morathi Federation seconds, another voice called. More voices joined in. The council chamber descended into parliamentary procedure, but the outcome was clear. The conspirators were going to face consequences. Chen sat down at the human delegation table. His aide, Jennifer Park, leaned close. That was quite a performance, sir. It wasn't a performance, Chen said quietly. It was a declaration. We just told the galaxy that humanity won't be pushed around. On the main floor, the voting began. Species after species voted to censure the conspirators. The elder races tried to rally support, but decades of arrogance had left them with few genuine allies. By the end of the session, 89 species had formally condemned the conspiracy. The galactic order, that had lasted for millennia, was cracking. Chen watched it happen with satisfaction. The elder races had tried to destroy Earth in secret. Instead, they had given humanity something far more valuable: moral authority and allies. The vote concluded. The censures were official. The Vreth ambassador glared across the chamber at Chen with undisguised hatred. Chen met his gaze without flinching. The message was clear. Earth had just declared that the old rules no longer applied. The galaxy would have to get used to it. As the session adjourned and representatives filed out, Chen received a message on his secure device. It was from President Okonkwo. "Well done," it read. "Now comes the hard part. We need to figure out what happens next." Chen looked out at the stars through the chamber's transparent dome. What happened next would reshape the galaxy, and for the first time in history, humans would help decide the shape it took. The weeks following the council confrontation were chaotic. Governments across the galaxy struggled to respond to the revelation. On some worlds, protests erupted. On others, political leaders who had supported the conspiracy found themselves facing angry populations. The Vreth hegemony was hit particularly hard. Their government had been the primary architect of Protocol 7. Citizens who had always trusted their leaders now questioned everything. Within 2 weeks, massive demonstrations filled the streets of the Vreth capital. The protesters demanded accountability. Ambassador Chen watched the news feeds from Earth's diplomatic headquarters in Geneva. Reports came in from every corner of the galaxy. The unified front of elder races that had ruled for millennia was collapsing. 62 species have now formally requested investigations into the conspiracy, Jennifer Park reported, reading from her datapad. 17 have announced they're reviewing their council membership, and the Calrix Consortium just had a vote of no confidence in their ruling board. Chen nodded, processing the information. "What about the conspirators themselves?" "Mixed responses," Park said. "The Vreth are digging in, claiming everything they did was legal. The Pelithans have gone silent. Most of the others are trying to distance themselves from the decision, saying they were pressured into voting yes." "Classic," Chen muttered. "Everyone's a victim now." His communicator chimed. It was President Okonkwo, calling from the UEG complex. "Marcus," she said when her face appeared on the screen. "We need to talk about next steps. The Security Council has been in emergency session for 6 hours. What's the debate?" Chen asked. "Whether we stay in the council or leave," Okonkwo said bluntly. "Half the cabinet wants to walk away. The other half thinks we should stay and fight for reform from inside." Chen considered. "What do you think?" "I think the council is broken," Okonkwo said. "It was designed by and for the elder races. Even with reforms, they'll always have structural advantages. But I want your opinion. You've been dealing with them longer than anyone." Chen looked out at the Geneva skyline. "We should leave," he said finally. "But not alone." Okonkwo smiled slightly. "You have a plan." "I have an idea," Chen corrected. "There are 34 species that voted for censure and have also expressed frustration with how the council operates. Species that have been marginalized or ignored by the elder races. What if we offered them an alternative?" An alternative to the Galaxy Council? Exactly. A new organization with different rules. Equal representation regardless of how old a species is. Transparent governance. No secret sessions. No hidden protocols. A true alliance of sovereign systems. Okonkwo was quiet for a moment. That would be seen as splitting the galaxy. The elder races would call it rebellion. "Let them," Chen said. "They already tried to destroy us. What else can they do?" 3 weeks later, Earth made its announcement. In a broadcast that reached every inhabited world, President Okonkwo stood before the cameras and spoke. "For millennia, the Galaxy Council has maintained order and peace. We acknowledge its achievements. But recent events have revealed fundamental flaws in its structure. The concentration of power in the hands of elder races, the lack of transparency, and the ability to make decisions that affect all species without their knowledge or consent. These are not flaws that can be fixed with minor reforms." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Therefore, effective immediately, Earth is withdrawing from the Galaxy Council. We do not make this decision lightly, but we cannot remain in an organization that conspired to sabotage our civilization." The announcement sent shockwaves across the galaxy. But Okonkwo wasn't finished. We also announced the formation of a new organization, the Alliance of Sovereign Systems. This alliance will be built on principles of equality, transparency, and mutual respect. Every member species will have equal representation. All decisions will be made openly. No species will be considered superior or inferior based on age or history. She looked directly into the camera. We invite any species that shares these values to join us. Together, we can build something better than what came before. Within hours, responses started coming in. The Tython Union announced they were joining the alliance. Then, the Morathi Federation. Then, the Drex Commonwealth. Species after species, mostly younger races that had been treated as second-class members of the Council, accepted Earth's invitation. By the end of the week, 34 species had joined the Alliance of Sovereign Systems. The elder races reacted with fury and panic. The Vreth ambassador issued a statement, calling the alliance a dangerous fracturing of galactic unity. The Calrix warned of economic instability. The Pelithans said nothing publicly, but their silence spoke volumes. The council held an emergency session to discuss the crisis. For the first time in living memory, the chamber was half empty. The species that had joined the alliance were no longer present. The conspirator species tried to present a unified front. They offered reforms. They promised transparency. They even suggested creating a joint commission with the alliance to discuss reconciliation. But it was too late. The younger races had seen behind the curtain. They knew how the elder races really viewed them. Words couldn't rebuild that broken trust. The real power shift came through economics. Earth and its alliance partners controlled significant resources and trade routes. More importantly, they controlled innovation. Human technology had been advancing rapidly, even under the constraints of Protocol 7. Now, without restrictions, it exploded forward. Within 6 months, the alliance's combined GDP grew by 40%. Human-designed jumpgate technology, more efficient and cheaper than the ancient network the Council used, began replacing infrastructure across Alliance space. Human medical advances saved millions of lives on Alliance worlds. Human artificial intelligence, still officially illegal under Council law, revolutionized manufacturing and logistics. The elder races watched in growing alarm as the Alliance thrived. Species that had been content with Council membership began reconsidering. If the Alliance could offer better technology, better trade terms, and equal political power, why stay with the Council? The first major defection came 8 months after the Alliance formed. The Korathi Dominion, a mid-tier species that had been a Council member for 2,000 years, announced they were switching to the Alliance. Their reasoning was simple. The Council represents the past. The Alliance represents the future. Other defections followed, not a flood, but a steady stream. Each one weakened the Council's position and strengthened the Alliance. The conspirator species tried various strategies to stop the bleeding. The Vreth offered economic incentives to species considering leaving. The Calrix threatened trade sanctions. Nothing worked. The harder the elder races pushed, the more species wanted to leave. Chen watched these developments with careful satisfaction. The plan was working better than he'd hoped, but he knew the situation was fragile. The elder races still had enormous military power. If they decided the alliance was too much of a threat, they could try to crush it by force. That fear seemed to be realized when the Vreth hegemony announced it was conducting defensive military exercises near Alliance space. 100 Vreth warships assembled at the border, their weapons powered and ready. The Alliance prepared for war. Human ships, along with vessels from 38 member species, deployed to defensive positions. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if the first galactic war in millennia was about to begin. Then something unexpected happened. The Vreth government collapsed, not from external attack, but from internal pressure. The Vreth people, watching their leaders threaten war against species that had done nothing but demand fair treatment, finally had enough. Mass protests turned into a political revolution. The old government was removed from power. The new Vreth government's first act was to recall the warship fleet. Their second act was to issue a public apology for Protocol 7. Their third act was to request admission to the Alliance of Sovereign Systems. Chen received the request with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. He brought it to the Alliance Council, which now met regularly on a rotating schedule between member worlds. The debate was intense. Many species didn't trust the Vreth. They had been the primary architects of the conspiracy. How could anyone believe they had truly changed? But Ambassador Krell of the Tython Union made an interesting argument. If we reject them, we prove that we're no different from the old council. We say that past wrongs can never be forgiven, that species can never change. Is that what we want the Alliance to stand for? After much discussion, the Alliance offered a compromise. The Vreth could join, but on a 5-year probationary status. They would have limited voting rights and would need to prove their commitment to Alliance values before gaining full membership. The new Vreth government accepted. Chen stood on the observation deck of the Alliance headquarters, a massive station that had been built in neutral space. He watched ships from dozens of species come and go. Each one flew both their own flag and the Alliance flag, a symbol of unity and diversity. Jennifer Park joined him. "We did it," she said quietly. "We actually did it. We're not done yet," Chen replied. "The old council still exists. Half the galaxy is still part of it. This could go wrong in 100 different ways. But it could go right too," Park said. Chen smiled. "Yes, it could." A message appeared on his datapad. It was from Ambassador Keela Voss, the Tanith diplomat, who had started everything by giving him the data chip. She had joined the Alliance shortly after it formed. "Elder Statesman Pelkoth of the Pelathon Conclave has requested a private meeting with you," the message read. "Location: Earth. He wants to talk." Chen read the message twice. The Pelathans were the oldest species in the galaxy. They had been part of the conspiracy. What did they want now? He sent a reply accepting the meeting. Whatever the Pelathans wanted to discuss, it was important enough for one of their leaders to visit Earth personally. The galaxy was still changing. The story was far from over. Elder Statesman Pelkoth arrived on Earth without ceremony. His ship landed at Geneva Spaceport in the early morning, carrying only a small diplomatic staff. For a being who represented one of the galaxy's most ancient civilizations, it was a remarkably humble entrance. Marcus Chen met him at the spaceport personally. The Pelathon was tall and thin, his skin a deep bronze color that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. His eyes were completely black, reflecting light like polished stones. He moved slowly, with the careful dignity of someone who had lived for thousands of years. "Ambassador Chen," Pelkoth said, his voice like wind through old trees. "Elder Statesman," Chen replied, offering the traditional Pelathan greeting gesture. "It's an honor to host you on Earth." Endwells, low crime. They took a secure vehicle to the diplomatic gardens of Geneva, a peaceful area where representatives from various worlds often held informal meetings. Chen had chosen the location deliberately. It was beautiful but not intimidating. Equal ground. They walked along a path lined with flowers from a dozen worlds. Pelkoth moved slowly, examining the plants with interest. Finally, they reached a quiet bench, overlooking a small lake. "I have never been to Earth before," Pelkoth said, sitting down carefully. "It is younger than most worlds we consider civilized, but it has a certain vitality that older worlds have lost." Chen sat beside him. "Why are you here, Elder Statesman?" Pelkoth was quiet for a moment, watching the water. "I am here to apologize. Personally. Not as a government statement or a diplomatic formality. As one being to another, I want to say that what we did to your species was wrong." Chen hadn't expected that level of directness. "You could have sent a message." "Messages are easy," Pelkoth said. "They cost nothing. I wanted you to see my face when I said it. I wanted to look into the eyes of the species we tried to destroy and admit our failure. Failure? Chen asked. From your perspective, you succeeded for 3 years. No, Pelkoth said firmly. We failed from the beginning. We made our decision from fear, Ambassador Chen. We, who have lived for 10,000 years, saw our own obsolescence in your species. In trying to preserve our relevance, we ensured our decline. He turned to look at Chen directly. Do you know how long the Pelothon Conclave has existed? 12,000 years. We have seen civilizations rise and fall. We have witnessed species that seemed destined for greatness destroy themselves. We thought we understood the patterns of history. But you didn't understand humans, Chen said. No. Pelkoth agreed. We did not. We saw your rapid advancement and assumed you would follow the same path as others. Aggressive expansion, resource depletion, eventual collapse. We thought we were preventing a future catastrophe. You were preventing competition, Chen said bluntly. Pelkoth didn't deny it. Yes, that too. We had grown comfortable with our position. The idea that a new species might surpass us in a few centuries rather than millennia was frightening. So we cheated. A bird landed near the bench, pecking at the ground. Pelkoth watched it with fascination. Your species has something we lost long ago, he continued. Adaptability. The willingness to try new things even when old ways still work. The elder races have been doing things the same way for thousands of years. Why change what functions adequately? Because adequate isn't excellent, Chen said. Exactly, Pelkoth said. But we had forgotten that. We confused longevity with wisdom, age with superiority. We assumed that because we had survived for millennia, we deserved to rule. And now? Chen asked. Pelkoth sighed, a sound like wind through empty halls. Now the Galaxy Council is dying. Half its members have left. The other half are debating whether to stay. The organization that kept peace for thousands of years is fracturing. Because it was built on an unfair foundation, Chen said. The Alliance isn't trying to destroy the Council. We're offering an alternative. Species can choose which system they prefer. And most are choosing the Alliance, Pelkoth observed. Even some elder races are considering it. The Vreth have already joined, despite everything. That should tell you how badly we failed. They sat in silence for a moment. The sun moved higher in the sky, warming the garden. I have a proposal, Pelkoth said finally. The Pelothon Conclave possesses archives dating back 12,000 years. Technologies, historical records, scientific discoveries, cultural knowledge from civilizations that no longer exist. We have kept this information restricted, sharing only with other elder races. Chen's attention sharpened. Why? Control? Pelkoth admitted. Knowledge is power. By controlling who had access to ancient technologies and wisdom, we maintained our position. But I am proposing we share everything with the Alliance. Chen studied the ancient being. What's the catch? No catch, Pelkoth said. Only a request. Let us learn from you. Show us how to adapt, how to innovate, how to stay relevant, without resorting to conspiracy and suppression. Help us remember what we forgot over thousands of years of comfortable dominance. You want humans to teach the oldest species in the galaxy? Chen asked skeptically. I want the oldest species to learn from the newest, Pelkoth corrected. You won this conflict not through superior weapons, Ambassador Chen, but through a superior idea. The idea that civilization advances through transparency, merit, and cooperation, rather than through conspiracy and control. That is the lesson we failed to learn for millennia. Perhaps we can still learn it from you. Chen considered the offer carefully. Access to Pelothon archives would advance human science by centuries, but it could also create dependency. or give the Pelethans influence within the alliance. As if reading his thoughts, Pelkoth spoke again. I am not asking the Pelethan conclave to join the alliance. Not yet. We need time to rebuild our society, to prove we have truly changed, but I am asking for cooperation. For the chance to be part of what you are building. I'll need to discuss this with the Alliance Council, Chen said. Of course, Pelkoth agreed. I expect nothing less. Transparency. As you said, they talked for another hour, discussing details and possibilities. By the time Pelkoth's ship departed, Chen had a new understanding of the ancient species. They weren't villains or monsters. They were beings who had lived so long they had forgotten how to grow. 6 months later, the Galaxy Council officially dissolved. The vote was unanimous among the remaining members. There was no point continuing an organization that no one trusted, and few wanted to join. In its place, the Galactic Assembly was formed. It used the Alliance's charter as its foundation, but was open to any species that accepted its principles. Equal representation. Transparent governance. Decisions made openly. The Pelethan Conclave was among the first elder races to join. They brought their archives as promised. The knowledge shared freely with all member species, advancing science and culture across the galaxy. The Vreth completed their probationary period and gained full membership. Other conspirator species followed, some after longer probationary periods. The galaxy learned that redemption was possible, but it required genuine change and accountability. Earth didn't become the dominant power in the new order. Humans didn't want to. They had never been fighting for supremacy. They had been fighting for fairness. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo, promoted after her successful vault raid, now commanded Earth's first fleet. She stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the construction of Earth's first mobile fleet headquarters through the viewport. The massive structure was taking shape in orbit, a symbol of humanity's new role in galactic affairs. Shepard's voice came through the ship's communication system. The AI had been given official recognition by the Assembly, ending the prohibition on advanced artificial intelligence. Admiral, I've been reviewing the historical data from the Pelethan archives. Find anything interesting? Okonkwo asked. Multiple instances of similar situations, Shepard replied. Young species rising quickly, elder races attempting to suppress them. In every previous case, the young species either failed and stagnated, or succeeded through violent revolution that destabilized the galaxy. But not this time, Okonkwo said. No, Shepard agreed. This time, the young species exposed the conspiracy and built an alternative system rather than destroying the old one. They gave everyone a choice. That's unprecedented in 12,000 years of recorded history. Okonkwo smiled. We're good at doing things that haven't been done before. Ironic, isn't it? Shepard observed. The conspirators tried to contain humanity because they feared what would happen if humans gained power. Instead, their actions taught humanity exactly how fragile the existing system was. They made you stronger by making you their enemy. They made one fatal mistake, Okonkwo said, watching as human ships jumped to patrol routes across 6 sectors. They assumed we'd play by their rules. Humans have never been very good at that. Across the galaxy, species that had once been divided began collaborating on projects unimaginable under the old order. Joint research stations, combined exploration missions, cultural exchanges that enriched everyone involved. The elder races didn't disappear or lose all influence. They remained important members of galactic civilization, but they were no longer automatically superior. They had to earn respect through achievement rather than demanding it through age. In the memorial archive on Earth, the erased minutes of the secret session were preserved in a place of honor. Not hidden, not destroyed, but displayed openly. A reminder that tyranny thrives in darkness, but truth only needs one light to shatter it. Ambassador Chen, now retired from active diplomatic service, sometimes visited the archive. He would stand before the display, and remember the day he received a data chip from a brave Tanith diplomat. The day everything changed. A young student approached him once, recognizing his face from history courses. "Ambassador Chen? Can I ask you something?" "Of course," Chen said. "Were you ever afraid?" the student asked. "When you exposed the conspiracy? You were risking war with species that could have destroyed Earth." Chen thought about the question. "Every day," he admitted. "But I was more afraid of what would happen if we did nothing. Fear of failure is natural. But accepting failure without trying, that's unforgivable. I did the sitting. The student nodded, satisfied with the answer. Chen looked back at the display one more time. The erased minutes that had nearly been lost forever now stood as a testament to a simple truth. In the end, transparency defeats conspiracy. Courage defeats fear. Ennui, and those who demand fairness change the world more effectively than those who demand power. Earth hadn't conquered the galaxy. They had simply refused to be conquered. And in doing so, they had freed everyone else. The stars shone through the archive's windows, the same stars that humans had gazed at for millennia before reaching them. Now, those stars belonged to everyone equally, not because humans had demanded it, but because they had proven it was possible. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, Chen thought, was exactly as it should be.